Welcome back, everybody, to Conversion to Christ podcast, where we dive into many different subjects about the gospel of Jesus Christ. But most importantly, we dive into individual stories about how they found Jesus Christ in their own lives. If you want to support the channel, we have a Venmo at conversion2 Christ. All of our videos and audio goes up on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Spotify for podcasters, and Instagram. So go check it out. Let's get into this next episode. Okay, well, welcome back, everybody, to Conversion to Christ podcast. Today we have an awesome guest. His name is Dequan. I met him, I'm going to give a little background first before we start. I messaged his wife. Well, that sounds kind of a little odd, but I messaged his wife because she was selling actually these wireless headphones on Facebook Marketplace, and she had seen my podcast from Facebook, and I think she said she felt kind of prompted to give these headphones to me for free because she wanted to support, spreading other people's conversion stories. And I thought I was talking to him, and so I was like, well, thanks so much, bro. Thanks, bro. And then I'm assuming she knew I thought I was talking to him, and then she was like, yeah, no. So then after that, I was like, what's your story, bro? And then she was like, well, I'm a member, but my husband is a convert. And I was like, oh shoot, I was just calling this girl a bro the whole time. So that was pretty funny. But long story short, this is my first time meeting him, and I know nothing about his story, and I'm super excited to hear it. And I don't know, I'm super stoked. But will you maybe give a little introduction, just who you are?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's kind of crazy how things work out. Like you said, my wife talked to me about how she sold you those, and all of a sudden we're sitting here, and I'm going to share my story with you. But my name is Dequan Thompson. I go by Quan. I'm born and raised in Bellflower, California. I lived there for about 7-8 years, and then moved to Las Vegas, and then lived there most of my life. And then I'm just a normal guy.
Now you're living here in Utah.
Yeah.
Where is this? What is this called?
This is Farmington. So we're in Farmington. Yeah. And my wife is from Kaysville.
Cool.
She's a Davis Dart. So
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, cool thing about Dequan is that he played college basketball at Dixie State.
Yep.
And I played college basketball at Southern Virginia University. So we're gonna have to
connection.
ball up.
When I asked you, I knew there was a connection there too. So
let's go.
This is great. This is great.
So when it comes to conversion stories, you can just start from the very beginning if you want, and it's okay if it's long because that's what people want to hear. So if you just want to go ahead and start.
Cool. Yeah. I was going into high school. Okay. I was adopted into a Mormon family.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So I knew nothing about the religion. They weren't active.
Okay.
And they still aren't active, but the dad went on a mission. He served in, I think it was Peru. Going into high school, I was adopted by them. My at-home life wasn't good.
With them?
With my blood family.
Oh, with your blood
family in Vegas. So, I'll just tell you about growing up in Las Vegas. I've seen some stuff.
Yeah.
Mom, drugs, drug dealing and gangs, and people getting jumped, and I was shot at growing up when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I had a rough upbringing, but I mean, for the most part, my mom always provided. No matter how she got it done, there was always food on the table. There was clothes on our backs. So,
dang.
I mean, she did what she had to do. You know what I mean, to provide for us. So,
Do you know that song, Dear Mama?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what it reminded me
Yeah,
of.
dude. I mean, some of those lyrics, that hits home. Absolutely.
Literally exactly what it sounds like. It's like she provided for them,
dude.
but she was like doing a lot of illegal stuff, but she still provided.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever she had to do to provide for her kids, and she did that. And she was, I called her, she was Superman to us, because no matter what, I mean, she always had a smile on her face. Our Easters were great. Our Halloweens were great. We lived like regular kids, you know what I mean? And we didn't know
the deep stuff that
we didn't really know. We were happy. We were fed, like I said, fed. Just being a kid, you know what I mean? And I do remember us moving a lot, not in the same house. I remember gas going off, sleeping in the dark for a couple days and all that. But like I said, we were happy, and she did her thing, and so I applaud that, and I'll always love her. You know what I mean? So
for sure, yeah.
So
you jumped in saying you moved in with a Mormon family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did you move in with them?
Yeah, so I'll get on that. I played with, so they're the Littlefields, and I love, from the bottom of my heart, they saved my life, and I can't be,
What did
they did, the Littlefields, the family that took me in.
Their last name's Littlefields.
Littlefields,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So they provided for me too. And they healed a broken heart. They healed me. And like I said, they weren't really involved in the church, but we would go every now and then. Like her uncles would take us, or the Littlefields, the uncle, we would go with him to church sometimes, and so I kind of knew about it. But anyway, so the Littlefields, going into high school, I played basketball with the son.
Okay. Is that how you originally knew them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So going into traveling teams before high school, I was playing with, his name is Landon.
Okay, cool.
It's my brother. So played basketball with him. We were traveling all the time, and we were always together. Yeah. Me and Landon was always together, and one day they were just like, your situation's not good at home. We don't like, what you're seeing. Why don't you? We'll take you in. Yeah. So, we got that done. Papers were signed, and I lived with them for high school, before high school, but high school going, for now that I definitely consider them my family. So,
how did your do you have siblings? First of all,
yes,
How did your siblings and mom feel about that?
And it was tough. My mom hated it. Yeah. Cause I'm her son. Yeah. She didn't like that. I was giving credit to the Littlefields. Yeah. She raised me. She didn't like that. And my siblings, they didn't really care. I was going after my dream, playing basketball. Yeah. So they didn't really care. But my mom took it tough. My grandma was fine. They talked to the Littlefields today. Everything's cool. But yeah, that period of the adoption process was tough. It was tough for my mom.
Yeah, I bet.
It was tough for my mom. But what can you do? The Littlefields, they
wanted to help you.
They helped me, man. They helped me a lot. And to this day, I love them. They're a great family.
Yeah. So dang, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So then from you moving in with them, were there little bits of you learning about the gospel while you lived with them, or was it not really?
Yeah, not really. Not really. I know that Daryl, his name's Daryl. Yeah. I know that he went on a mission, and his mom and dad, Daryl's mom and dad, they got back from serving a mission. They're older.
Okay.
So,
just a senior couple mission?
Yeah, they weren't really involved. And I didn't really,
Yeah.
I wasn't really, I guess, looking for it either at the time.
For sure, yeah.
just had my head in basketball, and that was it. 24/7 was basketball. So we didn't really, it wasn't really around.
Yeah. So, like, with this family, you obviously knew that they were Mormon, right?
Yeah.
But you weren't looking for it. Mm-hmm. Like, when growing up in your own family, did your mom believe in God, or like were you Christian family?
Yeah, and we did. I grew up in a church.
Okay.
We went to church. Absolutely. I feel like I always put God first, no matter what. And and he was always part of my life, and I always prayed. My mom would take me to church. I even had a friend in Vegas, not Landon, but it was junior high school. I would go to church with him, and so God's always it's always been in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know where I would be without
for sure
having him in my life. And there were nights where I wouldn't see my mom for weeks.
Yeah.
And I would get down and pray.
Yeah.
Like, why come home? We need you. Like, why is this happening to us? Please help us, God. And, I would get down and pray and talk, and that helped me through those tough times. So,
dang. So, were there any times growing up when you were with your mom that like you look back now and you're like, holy crap, like God totally helped out?
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. There was I'll never forget this. It was I think it was around a Halloween one year, and we didn't know where mom was.
Yeah.
So we're outside playing. I'm asking my brother and sister, where's mom? Have you seen mom? Yeah. No, we haven't seen her in a couple of days. And I had been gone playing basketball and with Landon and them, so they haven't seen them in.
Were you the oldest?
Second oldest. Second oldest, yeah. I guess I didn't really talk about my siblings, but
you're good.
We can get on that. So I'm asking, where's mom? And a couple hours go by, and we see her. She comes home, walks upstairs, and I remember walking in the room. Her door was closed. Walking in her room, and she's sitting on the bed, back turned, and she's just fidgeting, and she's curled.
Dang.
I'm like, Mom, what's going on? And she had done crack that night.
Yeah.
And I will never forget the feeling I felt seeing that. She just clenched tight, and it was, I'll never forget it. But I think that night kind of, that shook me. And I will never forget that night. But that, I think that changed a lot on my perspective of how I can't be around this. You know what I mean? I can't be here while this is happening. I have a life to live.
For sure.
So that's when things really took off with the little fields and all that. So,
dang.
Yeah.
So at what age did you and your siblings like realize what your mom was doing? Like, cause you said it was good, but like, when did you realize?
I would say junior high.
Okay.
Junior high school. So probably, what is that, 12, 13?
Yeah.
We kind of realized, and I had I said it before, I had basketball, man. I stayed after school with my coach in junior high, and he even knew things weren't good at home. So we would stay after, do my studies and shoot some hoops and practice on things. So, and I would get home late to avoid not going home, you know what I mean? So
do you think, like, was it basketball that helped you stay away from the life your mom was kind of living in? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I don't know where I would be without basketball too. We were traveling, like I said, traveling teams with the little fields. So I was never really home.
Yeah.
I had a basketball in my hand. So we were traveling a lot and gone.
That's cool.
So, yeah. I think, I don't know. I think that could have, God could have been saying, travel, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, stay away from this because you don't need. You know what I mean? You don't want to see that.
For sure.
That's the feelings I felt. So
for sure.
yeah.
I think probably also the Spirit touched you a little bit that night when you saw your mama like that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
like, I gotta.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around. I don't want to get involved with this.
Absolutely.
Whatsoever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dang. So how's your relationship with your mom right now?
Good. Yeah, it's good. She's changed a lot. I mean, she still does,
Her own things.
grown things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell her, what to do. But yeah, I like I said, I love my mom. You know what I mean? She like I said, she took care of us. You know what I mean? She took care of us she did her best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I love her for that. We still talk.
That's good, man.
Yeah, there's still a relationship there.
So you said that when you saw your mom kind of fidgeting, she had just done crack, right? And that kind of hit you. Were there other times too where like you knew God was protecting you, like, or your siblings? Or
oh yeah. We outside playing as kids, we would see people getting jumped and guys rolling through with guns and being smacked up the side of the head with getting pistol whipped, curb stomped.
Dang,
yeah, dude, wild stuff. But there was always something that kept us away, whether that was grandma coming to get us and going over her place. Timing for sure. It was always timing. It's the most bizarre thing now that I think about it, but
just somehow,
yeah.
Timing, you didn't get hurt.
Right. Just,
that's crazy.
Moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I believe in is like, of course, our church, we believe in the premortal life. About, who we were in the premortal life. And if some of us chose to use our agency to further progressing in the gospel in the premortal life. And if we wanted to choose God or not, right? And I think it blows my mind that like someone like you is born into a situation like that, but somehow ends here, like ends where you are right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I ask the question a lot, why doesn't everyone end up where you are right now?
All right.
Because if we were just like any other church's beliefs where everyone was just blooped out and they're all given the exact same opportunities and kind of like, then everyone would choose the exact same way and get it out of that life where you are here now.
Yeah.
But I think in the premortal life, you wanted to do what you're doing now, which is you wanted to follow God, right?
Right.
And that's why you're here, right? And so have you ever thought about that? Like, why did I make it out with not being hurt, without being like in a...
Yeah, dude. I tell... So I got my patriarchal blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, it says something along the lines of go spread what you've been, like, you know what I mean? Go spread what you've been through. Spread it to the youth. Something like that.
For sure.
How crazy is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I come from really nothing, I would say, and I'm put here. I have, the gospel now in my life. I have a beautiful 1-year-old, my wife.
Yeah.
And Mary Ann's been a huge blessing in my life.
Mary Ann's his wife, by the way.
Yeah, my wife, with the church. And yeah, growing, I mean, we can get on this too when it's time, but there was, when I first got into the church and baptized, and Mary got hate on Facebook.
What?
Yeah, dude. Like he's not doing it for the right reasons. Like,
did it have anything to do with race either?
See, and it did. It ended up being a race thing with this guy. She went to high school with this guy. I don't know, but he's not. Is he doing it because he, you know what I mean? Just stuff that's not. And we got that all the time. Like, is he doing it for the right reasons? And is he doing it? And absolutely, I'm doing it for the right reasons.
That's crazy, bro.
I want to get on this. My brother. So what? I don't know if you're gonna ask the question, but what saved me, how I turned to God, was my younger brother passed away 9 years ago. He was murdered.
Dang.
I was working. I got the call from my mom, my sister crying, yelling. I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, what's going on? He's gone. He's gone. Somebody murdered him. He's gone. And that week, month felt like I had nothing. I was gone. I locked myself in my room for 5-6 weeks and didn't eat, rarely slept. And the moment I knew I needed something was that moment.
Yeah.
I needed something.
Like something was missing in your life?
Something was missing in my life. And I think I'll continue the story. So the day he was murdered, I worked in Prim up at the Nike. Prim is I think it's the state line, the border between Vegas and California. Prim. Okay. It's on the way to California.
Okay, cool.
But it's this little mall I worked at out in Prim. And when I got the call, I run out, going to get to the car. And when I run out, the Littlefields are there. They got the call before I did.
What?
So they're opening their arms. We're all crying together. We hop in the car, drive back to Vegas. We get to the house, to the Littlefields' house in Vegas. And Prim and where they live wasn't far. It was like 20 minutes. But so we get there and there's a chair in the middle of their living room. Their Coach Darryl, I call him Coach Darryl because he was my coach growing up. But
the Littlefield's dad.
Yeah, okay. Darryl, his dad and his uncle had a chair in the middle of the living room, and they gave me a blessing right when I got into the house. The chair was sitting. They said, "Sit down." Sat down in the middle of the living room in the chair, sobbing, and they gave me a blessing that day, and that I knew.
Yeah,
I knew. I needed that, and it saved me, man. That's when I knew I needed it. That's when I knew I needed it.
What? So it kind of surprises me because they weren't crazy active, right? But so did the dad give you the blessing, the coach?
Yeah, not his dad gave me the blessing, but Coach Darryl was in the circle.
He was in the circle. Okay. And then because the dad is the one who just got off the mission too. So he's
and even his brother, Coach Darrell's brother. Sorry, this is confusing. Coach Darrell's brother, Uncle.
Yeah.
Uncle Scott is what we call him.
Okay.
He actually gave me the blessing.
Okay, cool.
So the grandpa, Darryl, and his uncle were there to give me the blessing, and the uncle gave me the blessing.
And of course, I'm assuming you weren't opposed to it because you're just like your brother's
help
died.
me, absolutely help me, please. Yeah. Any way you can help me right now, help me.
Gosh, man.
And it did. It I was calm. Mary called me that right after the blessing. And she I'll never forget this call too. She called me and was like, she's sobbing, and I heard what happened. I love you so much. You will see him again.
Yeah.
Quan, you will see your brother again, no matter what. And that's a big part also of why I joined this church, to see my brother again.
Yeah.
In the afterlife. So
for sure.
Say no more. That comforted me. That's all I needed. Yeah. I will see him again. So
I mean, two things real quick is one, what's crazy about you talking about your patriarchal blessing, about sharing your story, and then somehow God lines up this where you have the opportunity to share your story to hundreds, thousands of people, which is like so cool, right?
Yeah.
And then also, like, other churches and other doctrine, they teach that, someone who hasn't either repented of their sins or accepted Jesus Christ before they died are going to hell, right?
Right.
And it's like, our church's like doctrine is so, it makes sense. It's like so like amazing.
Right.
Like, it's crazy to me that other people can't see that, which people are starting to see, right?
Yeah.
So many people are realizing that this plan of salvation is just like dynamite when it comes to like
Right.
doctrine. It's so amazing.
Absolutely.
Like someone who hasn't been as strong. Well, I actually don't know what if your brother was strong or not in the gospel, but say someone who wasn't strong in the gospel died, most of their churches would say he's going to hell, right?
Right.
And our church, we believe in such a loving Heavenly Father that's like everyone will get the opportunity to hear the gospel, feel the Spirit, and choose whether or not they want to follow it, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, and especially for you, like that's like the most amazing, comforting thing in the world.
It's huge.
To be like, yeah.
It's huge to me. So,
Dang.
yeah, absolutely. And I got to bring my brother's name into
The temple?
temple.
No way.
Yeah, dude. I got him what's it called?
Do you do baptism for
Yeah,
him?
I did the baptisms for the dead, and
Have you done endowment or anything for him?
Endowment, yeah, man.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So yeah, dude, he's up there waiting. So
Dang. So we gotta get into that real quick before you continue your story.
Yeah.
So how was that? Like, was that a special experience for you to go
crazy.
baptize him?
It was, and I had
wait, before you start.
Yeah.
So those who are not members of our church.
Yeah, I guess I didn't.
No. It's okay. It's a good thing to explain. So those who are not members of our church, we do something in our temple, which is the Lord's house. It's just like in the Old Testament, New Testament, there was temples built for worshiping God, right? And we have our temple nowadays, and we do something called baptisms for the dead. And it's for those who never had the chance to accept baptism here on earth, because, right, Jesus taught that you have to accept baptism to enter into the kingdom of heaven, be baptized of spirit and of water and fire, right? And so if they haven't accepted it here and been baptized by true authority, then we will baptize them for the dead in the temple as a proxy baptism. And it gives them the opportunity in the next life to choose whether or not they want to accept. It's not a forceful baptism, but they have the opportunity to accept if they want to, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, how was that? Like,
powerful. Really powerful. Who got to go? I think it was so going in, so Marianne, we were part of her dad's ward. Her dad was the bishop at the time.
Okay.
Up in Kaysville. And I had a ton of people, not a ton, I don't want to make it seem like, but I had a lot of people helping me. I had Marianne's dad's friends helped me along the way to teach me about stuff. And I got really close to, his name is Kurt Harris, I think. Marianne's dad's friend. He actually had the opportunity to do it for me. So it was powerful, man.
So he baptized you and you were the proxy for your brother.
Dang. Yeah, dude. And it was powerful. I'll never forget the feeling I felt in there. Just like I said, the feeling of knowing that I'll get to see him again that was it, man. I walked out of there like a new person.
Yeah, dude, I bet you're flying, bro.
It was great, dude. It was great.
Dude, those moments are like the ones that I live for, of just because we're going to continue to have those type of spiritual experiences throughout our life.
Yeah.
Those are the things I just continue to like strive for, to get closer and closer to Jesus Christ. In the 8 years that you have been baptized, because you talked about how when you were baptized, there was some, like her high school friend had sent some racist stuff to you, right? And then also, I'm sure you just grew up kind of having people being racist to you was kind of a normal thing,
right?
And talk about that 8 years in the church, how it's been like being, even in Utah, especially because you talked about how like you're the only black dude within like miles, probably.
The only one out here. At least I feel like that. But I don't know. I'm thick-skinned. Like I really don't let that bother me as much. But it's here. You know what I mean? Racism is not. It's not dead. just like a year or two ago, I was driving up to Ogden, and I was actually going to get to speak to children about what I'm doing now, my story, and dead stop traffic. And I look over to the right, and this hillbilly hick, has his window rolled down, and he's telling me, "You don't belong here, nigger. Get out of here. You don't belong in Utah." So it's, the stuff like that, you think it would rattle. Yeah, right. It would rattle me. But no, it's just a part of, how I am, and I just don't let that stuff get to me. But being in Utah, I mean, it's everywhere. People don't have to say much. When you walk around, I can see it on their faces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not all of Utah, you know what I mean? But it's definitely out here. And being in the church, I'm the only black one in my ward, but at the end of the day, it's all about, we're all one, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I think the big thing about being in the church and having God is God teaches love, and God teaches, spread that love, and it's, race shouldn't take effect in that, I think. But
100%. Yeah, I agree. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the gospel of Jesus Christ is like the only thing on earth that can really separate race and like not let us see skin color. You know what I mean? Like when we're close to the Spirit, that's the last thing on our mind.
Yeah.
Right? And like I was talking about earlier, when you're in the temple, like it's such a strong, insane feeling during certain times, right? Like when you were baptizing your brother, like or being baptized for your brother, like that feeling was just insane.
Couldn't
like
deny
you're not you have the last thing on your mind is race or what's different about us. All you care about is helping others see the light of Christ. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%.
So when you were growing up too, did you experience racism? Like just because you grew up in Las Vegas,
Vegas, right? Yeah, and no, because it's so diverse out there. You know what I mean? Coming here though, it's definitely been a change. Absolutely, it's been a change. But like I said, I'm not out there going to find it. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at. I'm just and having my child, and that's another thing you got to think about. You know what I mean? Raising him out here. You got to take that in effect too. But
is that like a good or like I'm sure there's negatives and positives, but like when you're talking about specifically race, is that what you're talking about? Like when it comes to raising your son in Utah?
Right, and teaching them, you want to teach them skin color doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It does not matter. So
it's scary though. I'm sure as a father thinking like you don't want your son to experience what you've experienced, like having people say certain things to you, like that hillbilly dude. Like what? Like Wait, tell him about when the guy in your ward. What he came up and said to you?
Oh yeah, so just an older guy wasn't born in he was born those times way back then.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was
yeah.
They didn't probably accept black people back then when he was around. But I don't know the guy. Guy comes up to me and just asks me what part of Africa I was from.
Yeah.
I looked at him and said, "No, I'm not from Africa. I'm from America." But it's just it, and we talked about it earlier. I think it's just educating yourself on it. You know what I mean? And knowing when to not say certain stuff. I don't know.
I don't mean to laugh at some of these racist things, but it's so silly to me that stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like it blows my mind actually. Like
still alive, man.
I think it's like I was telling him earlier, it's like if a black person went up to me and was like, "What part of Europe are you from?" I'd be like, like my ancestors? Is that like what you're talking about? Like
Right.
I'm American,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's so interesting, and it really helps me see like point of views when I'm like, for example, we all have different stories and we all have different ways of how we grew up,
Right.
and it helps me really understand like your side of things and your point of view,
Right.
where I can be like, okay, we didn't experience the exact same thing, and I can't be ignorant and say like, oh, you haven't experienced
Right.
any racism. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I think some people do claim that nowadays, where it's like there isn't racism. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Right.
well, you haven't lived the way I've lived. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And like I said, it's just some people were raised different. You know, people don't know better. People
Yeah.
don't know certain things. So,
Yeah.
like I said, educate yourself, 100%.
There's this dude staying with us, and he is from Africa, but he's staying with my family because my brother and him serve missions together in Africa, LDS missions. And he's staying with us right now, going to school and getting a job. And he talked to me about, like last week, literally talked to me about how racist like people were to him. And he was pretty empathetic towards them. He was like, they probably just don't understand that they're being racist. Some people do, obviously. Like the guy yelling at you in the car, like he knew he was being pretty brutal and
Right.
racist,
But I get what
right?
you're saying. Like some people don't know how far they're taking it. You know what I mean?
Like for example, he was talking about how he was on a date with a girl, and the girl asked him if they had alarm clocks in Africa, and he was like obviously we have alarm clocks in Africa, and she was like, really? You have alarm clocks in Africa? And like that blows my mind. I can't believe she asked him that. And then
Right.
he also talked about how like this is extreme. I don't know who this was, but he said that it was an older lady. I don't know if she was maybe there in the head, but she came up to him and was like, "Do you have any like slash marks on your back from whipping from in Africa, like from Africa?" And he was like, "No, like what?
Like what do you say to?
Yeah,
what do you say to that?
yeah,
That's tough.
I don't know, man. Like it's crazy how real it is. And I told you earlier, I think I'm like the most ignorant person. I don't think I'm the most ignorant person because I lived in Virginia. I saw like racism, but
So
when it comes to
right.
Utah racism, I'm probably so ignorant when it comes to knowing about that, because to be honest with you, I didn't realize how prevalent it was in like black people's lives, like your lives.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, she's black, and same thing with her. Like old men will come up to her and be like, "Can I touch your hair? Like, can I feel what it feels like?" And she's like, "No, that's creepy. Like
It's just hair. It's hair.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean?
yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
like that's really weird. And if like an old lady came up to me and was like, "Can I feel your hair?" I'd be like, or like an old man too came up and like, "Can I feel your hair?"
It's strange, right?
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, not to get too off topic, but I think a lot of people need to hear like that it is a real thing. It's like even in Utah among church members, like it's a real thing. And the dude that's staying with us said the same thing that you said, that like he can just feel it when people look at him, because they'll be like, they won't look at anyone else the same way they're looking at him, and they stare at him and won't say anything either. It's like it's very awkward,
and like I said, it's just educating yourself. It's God teaches love. And like I said, I'm the only black one in my ward, but I don't look at it like that. You know what I mean? I love my ward. I love the people in it, and I go about my Sunday. You know what I mean? I don't go about my everyday, really. I don't really tunnel vision. I don't really look at that until it's brought up to me, somebody yelling, stuff like that. But
yeah, it's hard not to not think about it when it's yelling in your face.
You just got to have love, man. That's it.
Yeah. So going off that point, we have many black general authority in our church, but there's one specific dude who, I don't know if you've seen that church video, but he's the dude who like grew up in like super ghetto New York, then moved to Hawaii, played basketball at BYU Hawaii, and basically he gave a talk talking about how he became the first black stake president ever, like in America. And then he had a member come to him, a white member, come to him and was like, here's my temple recommend. And he was like, why are you giving me a temple recommend? He's like, I can't sustain a black person in priesthood. Like, and he gave it to him. And then he like responded in love and was like, he handed it back to him and he was like, I'll tell you two things. One, like you need the temple more than anyone, because if you're trying to overcome, if you like have this feeling toward me, then you need to go to the temple more to have the Savior in life to overcome this weakness, right?
Absolutely.
And he's like, two, I will help you every step of the way for you to get to know me and know that, I'm just like you, right? And the dude, like, with hesitation, accepted it eventually, and now they're like best friends, like really, really close. And he
I've never heard that story.
It's cool, dude. I'll send you it
I'll
after.
have to check that out. Wow.
He shared that story in a BYU devotional, and I listened to it, and I was like, I think that was another time for me it started to like hit me. I was like, that's so interesting. Like
To have that guy, have somebody say that to him, and then him, say the stuff he did and accept and just say, you know what, here's this back.
Yeah.
Take the time to know me.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out for sure.
Well, what was crazy is he married a white girl, right? This black stake president.
Uh-huh.
And that's another reason he couldn't sustain him. He was like, you're black, but also you're interracial marriage. And like, I don't believe that. And so very interesting situation, right? But apparently in the end of the talk, he talks about how they're really close now. And they ended up like hugging each other. And then when he was released as stake president, he like hugged him like bawling. Like the dude just through the atonement of Jesus Christ was able to get rid of that weakness and that prejudice and like absolutely love his brother. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Those who don't have like these big crazy conversion stories, for example, yours is very big and special, I would say, where it's like, whoa, like that's a really cool story that you're here now. And like a lot of people I think would say like, I don't have that story. I just kind of have been straight arrow, kind of followed my parents' path, and I believe it's true, but I haven't really strayed away. And what would you say to people who say like, I need a big story, or I need to like test sin or experiment with sin to know what's wrong? Like, what would you say to those
I don't
people?
think it should get to that point, honestly. I don't think somebody should say, let me go rob a bank. Let me go, do drugs for,
to like know what's wrong.
To know what's wrong and to do right. I don't think anyone should get to that point. I think we all have our own story, you know what I mean? We all, come from certain places and get to certain places. It's just how I was brought up. It was how my life went, you know what I mean? And I told one of my friends this, I kind of wish I was, born in the church, because I don't know. Like I said, I'm still learning a lot. I'm still learning every day. Mm-hmm. And when you're in church and you're hearing people talk about different stuff, you're like, I'm sitting back like, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
So I wish I had that, but at the same time, me coming from where I came from and not having much to where I am now, I mean, that's what's gotten me here is the trials, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't take away any of that. But to answer your question, I don't think anyone should. Your story's your story, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think it should change.
Yeah. Well, so the person who actually asked me this question was my sister, and she's very, very strong in the gospel, has always been, never really strayed away, and went on a mission, got home, got married in the temple.
Yeah.
Has been, just amazing in that sense. But she was talking about how she listens to some of these podcasts, and she's like, this is like so amazing, and they're like so brave, and they have like such an amazing story, but I don't really have that. And so I feel almost like less as a person in a sense. And I'm glad that we're talking about it now, because I think a lot of people may feel similar to that. You know what I mean? Like they never really had this like big fall away to where it was like such a big comeback, and it's like, I'm so strong now,
I really don't think it's something to, I don't know, sit here and brag. I don't know, sit here and talk about. I'm not saying I'm bragging, But
No, for sure. I get what you're saying, though.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's something that it's something. It's something I should be I should be sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's something that to sit here and brag about. You know what I mean? Like, she should love the life she's living and the way she was brought up. That's
Yeah.
like I said, we just all have different routes God put us in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure, 100%.
Yeah.
I think I like how you said it's like nothing to brag about. I remember when I came home from my mission and confessed and then repented and took my time and came back.
Yeah.
So many people were like, "You're so brave, like you're so courageous." No one comes home from their mission and goes back. Like, that's so amazing. And to me, every time I heard that, it felt so like wrong. Like, I was just like, I'm just doing it because I love God and I want to be.
Yeah, man. You
know what I mean? Like,
I'm behind you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't feel like I needed any praise. Actually, I felt more like I didn't need it at all. Like I didn't deserve it almost. Like I just wanted to be right with my Heavenly Father.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I have Mary Ann tells me all the time, you should really, share your story. People want to hear it, but I don't tell it to
Up yourself,
to up myself.
Yeah.
And I hope if people are watching this, I don't want anyone to take that out of this. This is not to sit here and make myself look all big and bad. This is I did this. This is my life. I'm sharing with you.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing you're here because I'm sharing with you. And I think it's I'm doing this for a reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I hope people see that this is not for me. I'm not sitting here telling people the story because it's all guns,
like look
and drugs, and look what I've done. It's not about that. This is not why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It's because I have a story. I want to share it with people, and hopefully it helps somebody someday.
For sure.
So
I think it's the same with like Alma the Younger, like in the Book of Mormon. He was a prophet who, before he became a follower of Jesus Christ, he was called by God one of the most vilest of sinners. Like, he was leading people away from the gospel. He was doing evil things. And then had a change of heart and became one of the best missionaries of all time. Mm. And then you have Nephi, who's the exact opposite, who was faithful and I will go and do from the very beginning. Like, never strayed away from God, and was the only one in his family who was always 100% faithful. Like, even Lehi, who was the prophet at the time, became doubtful at some of the times journeying through the wilderness. But Nephi never stopped. Right. And so you have two people that have completely different stories, but their end goal is the exact same. And that's all we need to care about. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if I'm talking to someone who's a straight arrow edged person who has never strayed away from the gospel, but we're both here believing in Christ, that's all that matters. That's all that matters, you know what I mean?
Really, that's all. And it's, just make sure we're on that straight and narrow. We're there. It doesn't matter how we were brought up. If we're there, doing what's right, that's all that matters.
Yeah, 100%.
All that matters.
I know. I agree 100%. I think it's very important because I think a lot of people think about that sometimes. Like, I don't have this like big story, and I don't think you need it. I really don't.
Right.
And I don't think you need to ever experiment with sin to know it's wrong. And we've talked about many times during this interview that the Spirit testifies of truth, right? And that's how we can know what's true in this world, because there's so many opinions. And it's the same thing with sinning. We don't need to go to sin to know it's wrong. We need to go to the Savior. We need to go to the Spirit to ask God, is this right or wrong? And He can tell us through the Holy Ghost that it is right or wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what's so cool about the principle of we don't learn from sin, we learn from the Spirit. Right? And like, trials help us grow, but a lot of people face trials and they don't end up where you are right now or where I am right now. You know what I mean? Some people choose the exact opposite and end up in a really bad life.
Right.
And so we can't give credit to like, oh, the trials and the sin made me who I am. It's like, no, that was a big part of your story, but you chose, because you have free will, to turn away from
Absolutely.
the evil, the not good part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spirit taught you along the way that you don't want to be there anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I hear a lot of people talking about how like the sin was the thing that made them grow. And I was like, well, I think it's more your free will and the Spirit led you away from that because you felt it was wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Going in the right path of,
Yeah.
To get to where I am. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm assuming you told me earlier that you and your wife were sealed in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
You were right. You were married in the temple. And for those who are not members of our church, we just like how other Christian churches get married in churches, right? We as Latter-day Saints get married in the temple, and we make a covenant, a promise, a two-way promise between us and God, us, our wife, and God, that we will always remember Him, that we will follow His commandments, and we will put Him first in our lives, right? And so we do that in our temple. And I kind of want to hear about that experience. How that was for you?
The best day of my life. I think that moment in the room when we got sealed, I will never forget. And I was telling you that looking up and seeing, I don't know how half of the people got in the room, but it was like, I don't know how some of the people made it to the day, because we didn't really, I mean, we sent them out, but I know there were some we didn't send out to people, and they were there, and it was so special, and so like the Spirit was so strong in that room that day. I will never forget how I was feeling, and I just looking across and seeing Marianne, my wife, so special, and then seeing her, and then looking around and seeing my friends and family, and I could feel peace, and I could feel God there with us, and the whole room. We had the whole room just bawling. It was amazing. I'll never forget the day. And walking out of those doors with, we have our hand right. It was amazing, and seeing everybody out there the Spirit was amazing. Amazing.
So cool. I'm so excited for that day. Future wife, are you listening right now? I'm so excited for that, dude. I know, he's coming for sure.
The invite, absolutely.
This guy's my brother now.
Yeah, absolutely. I said it before, and I'll say it again. This is meant to be. It's a blessing. I'm happy you're here. Having the interviews, and I love to see what you're doing. Like today, you sent me your channel, and I watched I fell in love with your videos, and I truly appreciate what you're doing. I love what you're doing. You're spreading love and spreading blessings. So, thank you,
bro. Thanks so much. It's like such a. Hopefully, your story can just touch so many people's lives. And what's cool is that not only are these type of stories helping other people strengthen their own testimonies, but like my own testimony every single week when I do these episodes, like it's helping me stay strong and having the Spirit in my life. And so thank you, bro. Like it's
absolutely.
Like I'll say it once and I'll say it many times. Like it helps me so much hearing people's reasons why they believe. And I think I'm telling you, when I heard the part of when you had that blessing when your brother died, like I felt the Spirit so strong. Like it was really strong in the room, just because that was the time. It kind of touched my heart because I went through a really, really hard time too, where I finally turned to God, and I received a blessing from my dad when I was just in the lowest time of my life. And he said some things in the blessing that I just didn't think could happen, and they did. And it was the same thing for you. You were like vulnerable, you were humble, and you were just like, I'm
ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hell, I sitting in that chair in that living room, I needed it, man. And in my mind, we already talked about it, but I remember walking through those doors around that corner to that living room and seeing that chair in the middle of that room. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to go here and I'm going to sit right there and take this.
I'm sure when you look back at it, bro, it's like so meant to be. Like that
absolutely.
Image in your mind of just like seeing that chair around the corner. You just like, it felt right almost. Like,
yeah.
That's
Everything, just that whole day, everything leading up to that, walking out of work and seeing they were right there, ready to grab me. And yeah, it just, it was turn of events for sure. That's when I knew. Yeah, absolutely.
While I was driving up here, I was thinking of like a question because I prepare for each person
Right.
of some things I want to ask. And one thing, well, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about you or like knew anything about your story. And so I didn't really have anything to prepare, but I
Yeah.
felt like, well, I mean, I can ask this to any black person in the church because it is a controversial topic for
Hmm.
blacks in the priesthood
Yeah.
and how in the late 70s they were allowed to have the
Right.
priesthood, right? How has that been for you as like a member? Has that ever bothered you? Has that ever like what do you think about that? Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've had Mare talk to me about it. I've had her dad talk to me about it, and I've heard. Um, I, I'm like I said, I'm good. Like I don't feel any. I don't feel bad.
Yeah,
I just love that we're accepted now. Does that make sense?
for sure.
Um, and everybody wants to be accepted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that it's important to accept everybody and being part of the church and being able to go in there and take the sacrament and all that. I'm just happy I'm part of it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
Like going to the church. Hopefully, one day I will see. You know, I'll hear a black person up there, but
Oh, like another one?
yeah,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but yeah, man, I don't feel any way about it. Like I said, I just love that I'm able to go in there and be a part. You know what I mean?
There's like yeah, for sure. I think that's awesome. I was gonna ask you this too. I've heard other responses of black people in the church saying like I wasn't there at the time. Like I
Right,
don't really care because
right.
like I just can't deny how I feel and I know this is true and so
Yep,
it
yep.
doesn't really matter that much to me. Is
Doesn't
that kind of how
matter.
you
Yeah, it
feel
doesn't
too?
matter. Doesn't matter. I know how I feel. Doesn't matter to me. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
And then also with this topic, there's usually two arguments of why that happened. And this is interesting because I've actually never had this conversation with another black member of
Hmm.
our church about this because it's kind of a little controversial topic. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But this is kind of cool. I get to ask like you. It's like I mean we're both human. It doesn't matter. But
Right.
like I can't really speak on it because
Right.
you know what I mean. There's either two arguments. Who someone says the prophets made a mistake because that's I mean prophets make mistakes all the time. They're
Okay.
human,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Prophets make a mistake and they don't allow blacks to have the priesthood. Brigham Young made that, right?
Right.
And then later in like 1978, they were allowed to have the
Yeah.
priesthood again. And people say, oh, like Brigham Young made the mistake, and then all the prophets after just kept it because they thought Brigham Young received revelation, but really they just made a mistake because the reason people say that is because Joseph Smith was giving black people the priesthood like all the time, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense that Joseph Smith gave black people the priesthood, but then Brigham Young like made it so they can't have
They
it, right?
can't. Right.
But then other people's argument is that the church wouldn't have grown if they would have allowed blacks to have the priesthood back in the day because the way that blacks were treated. And so like if they gave the blacks the priesthood, people wouldn't join the church because they already either thought they were like should be slaves or lower
Right.
class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever thought about that of like if it was maybe a prophet's mistake or do you think maybe it was supposed to be this way? Like
Yeah. See,
it's an interesting conversation.
Like I said, I'm still like learning
For
every
sure.
day about stuff.
And this is like deep church
This
history.
is
So
deep.
this is like
This is deep. Like I've never thought about that. And I don't look at it like that. Like I don't look at it as he did this wrong or
Yeah.
shaming us and stuff. No, I don't see that. Maybe I'm different. I don't know. I just don't go down those paths.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I focus in on loving everybody, treating everybody the same, and that's it. That's it. I don't really go down dark holes like that. I don't know. I don't try to get into all that, but
It's good because a lot of the reasons people leave our church are because of secondary reasons. For example, they know the Book of Mormon's true, they know the prophet's a prophet, they know that Jesus Christ is their Savior, and they know that God is their loving Heavenly Father. But then all of a sudden, they find out that, like, Joseph Smith had this many wives, and they're like, oh, it's not true. But I'm like, but you already knew the Book of Mormon was true.
right.
Like, why does that matter? The little thing you found out that...
And all of a sudden it switches for them.
Yeah, right? And I never understand those reasons of why people stop believing, because if the foundation is these big main things, but then you find little things behind it, it's like, why does that bother you? Like,
it makes me think of something, how long it's been going on. I don't know.
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it goes back to how you feel, how how the Spirit has made you feel, in your life. You know what I mean? I don't think certain things for me, nothing will change how I'm feeling. Nothing will change my mind.
Yeah.
This is how I am. I'm a part of this church, and if I have God, that's it. That's it. I'm simple.
You talked about how, like, you can't deny what you felt
No.
and seen and experienced. Like, it's not possible for you to be like, yeah, I experienced all these things, but
and then
like,
all of a sudden,
yeah. You know what I mean?
it just doesn't add up to me. I don't know.
Like I said earlier, Joseph Smith said the same thing. When people would doubt him of his vision of seeing God in Jesus Christ, he was like, what do you want me to say? Like, this is just my truth. Like, I literally experienced it. Do you want me to deny what I know to be true? Like,
Right. I'm not gonna, this is how I feel. I don't care what you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't care what you think. This is how I feel.
I like how you said too that, like, you wonder how long it's been kind of stirring in their mind for someone who, like, chooses to believe
Because it can't just, you know what I mean? Automatically.
just happen like a second. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think also people, because in our church we have high standards. Like, they're very high. Like, we can't just do what we want. Like, God has certain standards that He puts in place for us to be safe and not to go deep in sin. Right? Some people might say like some people might be annoyed of that they can't drink coffee or they can't drink tea or they can't go drink with their friends or they can't do some drugs like smoking weed or something like that, right? And then that stirs in their mind of like, oh, we're restricted, like, oh, like, and then they find reasons to put the church down to be able to feel okay about sinning. That's what I think goes on a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that, I think if you know how you're feeling again, and you're firm with it.
Yeah.
I don't think anything should rattle you, really. Nothing should make you want to, like, live how you want to live. Do what you want to do. Make your choices. But if you want to live that life of, healthiness, and there's stuff you have to do to live right. You know what I mean? And that's what, I think being in the church, it helps me every day be the best I can be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going by the stuff we need to do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like I said, I have a 4-year-old. My 4-year-old sees us. Mm-hmm. I don't want him, you got to set an example. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we end this podcast, I want you to give some advice to the people listening, whether it's your testimony or whether it's you talking to people who are investigating our church specifically or trying to find out if God's real in their own lives. Like, what would you say to them?
It's honestly hard because I'm not going to sit here and tell people, go follow the church, get in there.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm I'm new to this. I'm new to everything still. I still feel like I said, I'm learning. Um, and people should live their own life. Absolutely, 100%. But for me, I was raised. I've lived a hard life, and like I said, my mom, Littlefields. I've been blessed with family around me and people around me that have helped. But I've always had God, always, no matter what. And I know in my heart, the feelings I felt are real. My situations, my trials have helped me with that, and God has helped me with that. So I mean, like I said, live your life. If you feel a certain way about the church, that's your opinion. But I know it's all about feelings. It's all about love. And I think if you believe, you believe. It's what's in your heart. So
Follow your heart, right? Follow the feelings
follow the
that you
feelings,
feel, and
man. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I go behind that. Follow your feelings. Don't let people tell you, you know, they're doing this because certain stuff. No, it's 100% real with me.
yeah.
So if you feel that, go with your heart. It's all about this, spirit. So
I have an interesting question for you
yeah.
before we end. Do you think that anyone can be happy in this gospel? Like, do you think it's individualized? I obviously have my own opinion about it, but hearing from what you kind of said,
Do I think anyone can be happy in this gospel?
yeah. Do you think that it's specifically for only certain people, like you, for example, or do you think anyone can
No,
find peace in this
I
gospel?
think anyone could. Why not?
Yeah.
Anyone could. Um, there's a friend. I had a friend in college. He, low of low, but he's happy now. He's married, happily married. Mormon guy. I've had friends that fall out but find their way back that are happy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I think it's for everybody. I think it's for everybody. Absolutely.
I agree 100%. I think that everyone in this world is just trying to find what makes them happy. I
Yeah.
think that's our purpose on earth is everyone is trying to find joy. And Satan brainwashes people and making people
Yeah.
think that money, worldly things, sex, drugs, alcohol, partying is what is going to fulfill their happiness
Hmm.
and the joy they're seeking for, and they just keep trying to find the next thing, and it's not fulfilling. Like that's why there's addictions, right?
Right.
Because they start with, well, for example, they start with porn and or drugs, right? And then they realize that okay, it fulfilled it in the moment, but I need to do it again, and I need to
Right.
do it again, I need to do it
Yeah.
again, and that's why addictions happen is because Satan convinces people that those things will fulfill their heart, but it never will.
Right.
And like what I'm here trying to tell everyone is that the only thing that will fulfill your heart and fulfill your human needs is Jesus Christ. Literally the only thing.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you can testify to that too. Like,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. After, having my brother go and all that happening in my life, yeah. Jesus for me was the only way for me. So
dang man. Thank you so much for sharing your story today,
oh,
bro.
absolutely. Before we had to take two, I
Yeah,
was telling I want everybody to know this. You're amazing for doing this. Keep spreading the love. Go out and get everyone's story, dude. Seriously, this is great. So I appreciate you coming here, driving in 30, 40 minutes to come see me, and yeah, I'm blessed to get to know you, man. So I
bro. Yeah,
appreciate the opportunity, honestly.
I know. I'm excited for just us to be friends now
Yeah,
too. Like it is really, you're like such a cool dude. And sometimes like you might interview someone that you don't click as well with, but like we have a lot in common, and
yeah,
like we
man.
have a pretty like low key have similar parts to our stories where like all I cared about was basketball for a long time,
Yeah,
and I didn't have any open heart to religion really. I always believed in God, but like it wasn't crazy where I was like devoting everything
yeah,
for God. I just I was really focused on basketball and wanting to be like a pro one day, you know? And it's crazy that we're both here, had played basketball, and our life is completely shifted to where like basketball is not really on our mind. It's like our family and God, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And this is what
This
is what
started-
brought us here. Microphones, and now
Isn't that weird, bro?
man. Microphones
Yeah,
brought us
God
here.
works in freaking
Yeah,
mysterious
brought us
ways.
here.
Well, this was Conversion to Christ podcast. This episode was super awesome. It kind of sucked we had to do a take 2, but I really believe that it was needed, and there were things that were said in this portion that there wasn't in the last one.
Absolutely.
And those who are listening, just know that we love you, and Jesus Christ can fulfill your soul. It really can. And yeah, we will see you.
Spread love.
Yes, sir. We will see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Hey, that was pretty good.
That was, dude.
That was.